Training camp is almost here, and we're looking at workout clips from these players leading into training camp, talking some ball, and today we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys. We're looking at Jaydon Blue. We're looking at Mafah do some drills, working out, getting ready for training camp. It will be here before you know it. That means you need to click that subscribe button right now because we will have the training camp clips here every single day from all the teams, your rookies, those guys on your favorite team, those guys climbing depth charts, those guys you're getting ready to draft in fantasy football. Click that button. Stop missing out. Know what your players are doing, especially if you're placing bets on them or if they're on your favorite team. But Jaydon Blue, then Mafah in this clip, I merged them together. We're going to loop this and keep talking ball, of course. Here's Jaydon Blue starting off. This is from his Instagram, and I got it from a beat writer off Twitter. There he goes. Actually, I got it from two different spots. But there he is. Good feet. Going through the cones. Ball coming at him. See there? There's another look at the same stuff. Solid footwork. I like how they're throwing the balls at him. I think that's kind of cool. He's very smooth on the feet. Video quality is not there 100%. There's Mafah. I got a lot to talk about him. I haven't had many clips or footage from the Dallas Cowboys from rookie camp, minicamp, OTAs. I'm expecting to see more during training camp. We just haven't had much on him. Remember, he's coming back from a shoulder injury. You got to give him a little time. He got banged up during last season. But Mafah, starting with him, big, bruising, physical running back that is a hammer. That is a guy that can get you what you need done in those short yardage situations. Big time recruit coming out of high school. Big time 4-star recruit. Went to Clemson. Sharing the backfield. Will Shipley's there. Will Shipley, 5-star recruit. Big time prospect. Sharing the backfield with him. Last year was his time to shine. He got that shoulder injury. Played through it a lot of the time too. Played through it. This is a guy that will work through injuries. That is something to know about. But his feet's pretty smooth for his size. Like, you do not want to compare him to like a 190-pound running back or a 200-pound running back. Like, this is a bigger back. And the Cowboys got him late in the draft. And if he was able to perform to spec, if it weren't for the injury that final season last year, he might have jumped up the board. Because he was starting to flash. And I like to get market analysis, and part of that is just searching social media and what people were saying. A lot of people were excited about him right before the shoulder injury, and then they're very disheartened because fantasy and everything else. But Mafah could be the sneaky guy in the room. Jaydon Blue is going to give you that speed. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's good in space. Does have the fumbles mixed in there, so I'm sure that's written in the comments. That's in every video. But these two running backs, they can feed off each other if they have to go with Mafah and Blue. Like, Mafah and Blue could be a tandem. Odds are late round picks, both of them becoming a tandem. Like, you don't see that too often in a draft. But with how ambiguous this backfield is, Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, we want to see how these veterans fare out once we get the pads on, once we get the joint practices and training camp. But the running back position's the running back position, and attrition's hit the running back position. And guys get hurt, guys get banged up. There's changes. We see this every year. It's a little bit lighter throughout the NFL, throughout the last 2 seasons. So it might ramp up back to average, or considering teams are using more of a committee approach, that running backs aren't getting banged up as much anymore because they're not getting as many touches. I imagine that it might go back up to average from what I'm guessing, but I could be wrong. But that's macro NFL. The thing is, you want to watch these running backs in training camp. You want to watch what they're doing. This is one of the main backfields to watch in the NFL. You have George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb there. You can't stack the box. Against this team. They're going to hit you at tight end. they're going to push it downfield to Pickens or let CeeDee Lamb work underneath. You cannot stack the box against this team now. You just can't. You can't go safety up high and then have coverage on CeeDee Lamb. You just can't do that. You got Pickens on the other end. You can just shoot your shot up there. And whoever wins this backfield, and it could be middle of the season, it could be Jaydon Blue, it could be Mafah coming out of nowhere. This is why you need to watch this backfield. This team's retooling. This team is trying to get right. There's a lot of other positions they got to work up. But getting 2 running backs here with some gusto to their game, and this was a very talented, deep running back class. Like one of the most talented, deepest running back classes of all time, if not the deepest. 2 running backs going in the first round in an era where running backs don't normally go in the first round. Second round, you saw a bunch of running backs go in the second round. Caleb Johnson in the third. We got a bunch of day 3 running backs who were in any other draft, especially in the 2024 draft, would have been drafted a little higher than what they were. Would have pushed some of those round 3 running backs. Like, if they were in last year's class, they would have been pushing for the top of the class. Last year's running back class was not near as talented as this year's class. So you're looking at some of the late round picks in this year's class, and you got some talent from team to team to team to team. The Cowboys double dipped in the back end of the draft. They knew this class was deep. They knew it was deep, and they picked up veterans to start of the middle of the offseason prior to the draft. Am I saying I agree with their approach? I think my knowledge of the running back depth of this draft, I do not really agree 100% because I think some of the top tier talent would really set you apart in the run game in this year's class. But also when you look at their draft overall, I mean, you got a first round pick in the second round with Donnie E. Like that's good value. Like, he was mocked in the first round of almost every draft, and he goes to the second, gets picked up. You get a second round quarter, mocked in the second round, most drafts. Sometimes in rare drafts got snuck into the first, but mostly in the second, into the third. You're catching values. However, there were other rounds where you could have got quality, but all in all, you got Jaydon Blue, you got Phil Mafah. Now, I would love to get a Quinshon Judkins on this team. Or maybe you could have went like a Trevion Henderson and a Phil Mafah. But again, Jaydon Blue's a lot cheaper. He's a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper. You're looking at price. You're looking at price here, draft capital-wise. And you got a first round Donnie E there in the second. Everybody was expecting him to go in the first, and that's a talented player. That's something to look at when you're looking at values. But you also had other players like Caleb Johnson that you could have got. That Caleb Johnson could have been your workhorse back. Could have been your guy for a long time. But in the back end of this draft, in the later rounds, when you're looking at this year's draft, some of these running backs in other drafts, especially the 2024 draft, would have went a little higher. Maybe a couple rounds, a couple slots. You're looking at that. They would be a lot more competitive. This is a very deep draft. Very deep draft where talent's going to slip. What I like about Phil Mafah, high-end pedigree, high-end school, was turning things up, ramping up this year, and then the shoulder injury hit. If that shoulder injury didn't hit, he probably would have been drafted a little higher. Probably would have been drafted a little bit higher. And now you're looking at Jaydon Blue. Now you're looking at him. I would not... Like, you do not want to put the expectation of, like, him being, like, the next Emmitt Smith or Ezekiel Elliott or anything like that. But let's just say role player, he's going to be a nice curveball to what you got. Because you also got 2 veterans there. And you could also bring in other running backs throughout time. But you got that speed, his ability to catch the ball in the backfield, the ability to work in space. And then if you hit to his upside and he's able to be the guy, more power. Because this is a running back that can pop with any given touch. And you didn't spend much on these running backs. You're not married to them. There's no sunk cost here. Where if not playing to snuff, you can move on. Where if the running backs that were drafted higher, and some of them won't play the snuff, you're locked into draft capital with them. You're locked into that, and you can't move on. I like this year's running back class. I probably would have attacked it more. I probably would not have brought in 2 veterans. I probably would have brought in 1 and probably would have attacked the running back class a little bit more aggressively. That's probably what I would have done. That's what I would have did. And it might have been 2 late rounders and a high-end back. It might have been that because there's not many drafts that's this talented at the running back position. Or it might have been a late rounder and a high-ender. It might have been something like that. 3 running backs is excessive for a draft, but also from what you were seeing scarcity-wise, and you brought in 2 veterans versus, in my idea, maybe bringing in 1 and just attacking the draft considering how talented it was, or is, or still, this rookie draft class is at running back. That's something to look at, but I've been more aggressive, whether it's spending up on that first one and then waiting late, maybe Jaydon Blue, mixed with a Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, somebody like that, RJ Harvey, maybe even deeper with a Phil Mafah. There's a lot of good backs. There's a lot of good backs in this class. Ollie Gordon and a Trevion Henderson. Like, you could have had, like, a mixed match of running backs. Ollie Gordon, Jaydon Blue, Phil Mafah, just stacking them with your last picks, going boom, 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 let them fight it out. That's another idea you could have did. There's a lot of different ideas you could have did just attacking this draft class. Now, when I look at Mafah and I look at Blue, talent-wise, I think they're a little bit underrated, underestimated. I think Mafah's being underestimated because they got in Blue and everybody's like, Blue, Blue, Blue. And they like the speed. They like the explosiveness. They look at the backfield and it's ambiguous. But this is a running back that can be a hammer. That can be a hammer. That could take on a full workload. Coming back from a shoulder injury, that could surprise you. That he could be a surprise. They got other running backs on the roster that could be a surprise as well, but they ain't working out right now. They ain't working out here in this tape, this montage. I'm talking about these 2 running backs. In this running back class, these rookies, I specialize really in rookies and what to watch for in their training camps and how to value them in fantasy football and fantasy football in general. If you're talking about fantasy football, you're talking about lottery ticket running backs with upside that are cheap in all formats. Phil Mafah is obviously like free in all formats outside the scope of redraft, dynasty, free last round draft guy of your rookie drafts. With how ambiguous this backfield is, his ability to get downfield. If you're just wanting a piece of this backfield and you do not want to invest too much, there you go. If you like Jaydon Blue, just don't overspend. Like, I've seen him be overspent on. Like, by a good bit. Maybe by, like, a whole round. And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I don't understand fantasy football analysis from that, but I want to gather something with these players. By saying that, that's saying a lot of people are very interested in Jaydon Blue. They're very interested in what he can do on the field. They're taking bets with their own money, saying Jaydon Blue could be the guy here, and I'm going to draft him higher than other people to make sure I get him. So if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm excited that bettors are putting their money on the line on one of my prospects that my team drafted. I'm excited for that because that is an indicator that people are seeing talent. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's an indicator. Phil Mafah is a player you need to pay attention to. You need to pay attention to. I think people are sleeping. I think when you're a late round pick, it's easy to not look his way. Hasn't been out there as much. That shoulder injury, we're coming back from that. That's something you gotta watch. But this is a big banger back. This is a big banger back. And I'm very excited to see what this backfield does in training camp. We're going to be keyed into it. We're going to be glued to it throughout training camp. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.